This is the Bible of the electrogenic cell. It's not just the best book ever written on the subject, it's the only book ever written on this subject. Brought to you by supporters of Christ. All right. So this is what we're going to do. Make sure my sound is good. Okay, yeah. Since StreamYard is changing up everything. Hotep to the family. I see you, Kyle. Hotep to the family. All right, so this is what we're going to do. I have a couple reasons for doing this. The main reason, we're going to definitely pick up where we left off yesterday. But we got a couple of things. Yeah, we got a couple of things, right? So the first thing, holidays, right? The first thing is holidays, right? The first thing is holidays. So over the years, we've accumulated days, right? And we've had conversations, and I'm not going to say that we've all grown tired of the same conversations. No, listen. I'm not going to say we've all grown tired of the conversations. I know I have to a certain extent. Like, it almost seems like it's an ego trip, you know, every time July 4th comes around. It's, are you celebrating July 4th because you know that's the white man? No. Thanksgiving comes up. Oh, well, you know, Thanksgiving, Christopher Columbus and the Indians and woo. Like, right? So a part of what's taken me so long to get a working schedule is the incorporation of holidays, right? And just honestly trying to navigate what to do with them, right? So, you know, our movement, the inspiration movement, you know, we accept everybody. So that's another thing. Creating our independent, you know, having our independence, but at the same time welcoming. So there's that, right? So we're ironing out holidays. We just celebrated one, right? We just celebrated one quietly. You know, the documentary, kind of like EnQi Day, and then also having the marathon, right? Those were done on special days, because typically we would run when the very first time we started like doing a fruit fast. We ran from June to July 13th, which is Tony's birthday. Right. So in that pocket, my birthday, Chase's birthday, Tony's birthday. Right. So those days have always been like June, then the first 2 weeks, or especially the second week of June. Right. But those also fall in line with key historical, holidays. Right. So there's that. We're going to standardize our live streams to where I was kind of like trying to see how the medicine thing goes, right? Trying to see how that goes in terms of regularity for me, with the family and all of the changes I always have in my day to day, right? But it's working well. So we're going to institute a late night on Friday. We're going to do a late night Friday night at 10 p.m. Starting this week. We're going to do a late night Friday night at 10 p.m. Right. We're going to do a late night Friday night at 10 p.m. Then I haven't quite worked out Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, I'm thinking Saturday. Should Saturday be early? Because a late Friday, you see what I'm saying? A late Friday. Friday is going to be 10 p.m. So I'm thinking Saturday shouldn't necessarily be too early. Right? Saturday, maybe Saturday should be like 12. Maybe Saturday and Sunday should be at noon. What do you think about that? Saturday and Sunday. Come on, see, this is when people are supposed to be alive in the chat. This is when people are supposed to be tuned in. They're gonna be like, yo, what happened? So, man, I wish I could have said, man, I wish I would have let you know, because I was thinking we should have did it at 6:15 or 7:30, 8. This is that time. This is the input time. Right? Friday is locked in. 10 p.m. Y'all know Tuesdays, I'm with HJ. That's locked in. Boom. Right? We trying to get to 1,000. I'm trying to get to 1,000 episodes over there. Right? And then Saturday and Sunday, I'm thinking 12 in the afternoon. Right? Let me write this down. And then Monday will probably be, Monday and Wednesday might be hump days. Monday and Wednesday might be a hump day. And then Thursday. What about Thursday? No. We go right after prayer. You know what I'm saying? We go right after prayer. Either I'll start at 12 and I'll run the prayer and then we'll go right after the prayer, or I'll just start like 12:05. So that's not a big thing. Yeah, we can get right around that. But what about Thursday? What you got going on, Tika? What's up with Thursday? Thursday, what time though? That's what I'm saying. What time Thursday? Y'all talking about Thursday is cool. 9 p.m. on Thursday? Late on Thursday? 9 p.m. prayer into study. Let me think. I don't know. We need an earlier day. We got 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Yeah, we got 8 p.m. on Tuesday. We got 10 on Friday night. Nobody's going to be in it. But Friday night is going to be strictly for degree work. Right? Friday night is going to be strictly for degree work. So when I say strictly for degree work, I'm talking about these two books, right? American Healer Files, Volume 1 and 2. And then I'm talking about the seminary school books, right? This is what Friday night is going to be reserved for. Every Friday night is just going to be for degree work. Yeah, it's just going to be for the folks that are more serious. So Friday night is going to be like, that's for the serious folks. Yeah, so we'll stick with those books. And there won't be more books. It's just going to be those 7. Right? It's just those 7 books. Right? And the codex, obviously, right? But specifically, these 7 books are the study material. Right? And so these 7 books go through all 12 degrees, at least as much as possible. Some of the stuff is not in books. All right, so Thursday, anytime after 3 p.m. Okay, yeah, because I'm thinking something like the God hour. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking maybe like 7. I think somebody said 7, like High Frequency TV said 7. I think 7 would be good. Yeah, I think 7 might be good. Well, that's going to be Friday night. Friday night is the late night. Friday night is just for that. That's what I'm saying. Friday. I mean, we might do them other days. I'm not, you know what I'm saying, ruling. But Friday night, 10 p.m. is when we go into the degree work, right? Friday night, 10 p.m. Remember, we got the first 3 degrees, right? Then we got 7 degrees after that. So we got 10 degrees. Then we have 11 and 12. as individual, right? So we got the 3, the 7, and then we got 1 and 1. We have 12 degrees. What's the other series? Codex of Living Current Temple Architect. Let me pull it up on the Amazon. Maybe that's what you're talking about. Because I know what happens is sometimes we might get caught up in the Amazon because of the way Amazon like groups things together. So you have, okay, let's hit this real quick. I don't know why Amazon's even showing that book. It's out of print. I don't know why they're showing it. Right? You see, out of print. I don't know why they're showing this book. But here, right? So that's a whole series. Quantum Liturgy, Theology of Light Seminary School. Right? So these 5 books here. Right? So that's a whole nother series. That's a whole nother book series. Right? So we got a bunch of different book series. We got Melanin versus Diabetes. We got Race Hustlers. We got True and Living Comedic Science. Then within the Comedic Science series, that's 88 books. There's a whole bunch of series within that series. We got the electrician manuals. We got comedic naturopathy. You know, we got the Ebers Papyrus books. We got a bunch of books in there. Yeah, we got a bunch of books in there. Now we got Rich Abs, Poor Abs series with the Codex. And then from there, branching off, we got the Quantum Liturgy books. So we're going to dedicate Friday night to that. We're going to keep Sunday school. I've been doing Sunday school since Black and Nobel. That's the first dedicated day. I've been doing Sunday school for 20 years now. I've been doing Sunday school for about 20 years. So we keep in Sunday school, right? Saturday is more like, I think, current events kind of vibe. But current events could be current events, right? Current events could be current events, or it could be current events, right? So it fits, right? We could have, you know, conversation about what's going on, or we could have, you know, we could get into our our Electrogenesis bag. So it could be current events, or it could be current events. So Saturday, you know, it's kind of open. And then we leave, you know, Thursday, same way. You know, Saturday, Thursday, both of those days are open. Friday night, we know what we're doing. Sunday, you know, we're going to be more codex based, right? Each one teach one, heart centered, diabetes. Like Sunday is going to be, that's our main program, right? So we'll be talking about the heart, diabetes, or how you can bring more people into the movement, right? And then who knows, you know, we might still pop up and go crazy with a live on Monday or Wednesday, but maybe not. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'll just leave those for days so I can get myself together, you know, scramble, work, research, write, type, publish, yell at the children, do homework, tutoring. Yeah, you know. Wrestle with YouTube, you know what I'm saying? YouTube is violating. They're not sending out the notifications. Fridays at 10. Now, mind you, this all what we're discussing right now is going to be in the kitchen chemistry book. What we're discussing right now is going to be in the kitchen chemistry book that's coming out. If you don't have the first kitchen chemistry book, slap yourself, go to Amazon now, add the kitchen chemistry book to your cart, check out. Like you're bugging. If you don't have the kitchen chemistry book, honestly, I don't even know what you're doing watching Dr. EnQi. Because if we're not being active, like I'm wearing active wear now. Like I don't know if y'all know, I got on sweatpants and my running jacket and a filthy t-shirt under this. Like, yeah, it's grind time. Like I'm so motivated and locked in. I don't know if it's the BS that I got going on in my. I think it might be. I don't know. I have negative programming that I'm still dealing with, that I'm trying to work on. And so, you know, I guess God still has to push my buttons in order to get me to go. You know, I got to be I got to be in situations to perform at my best. You know what I'm saying? On raw nights like this, I perform like Chris. Anyone, Parker, Rios, Wallace. Yeah. On raw nights like this, I perform like Chris. Anyone, Parker, Rios, Wallace. All right, who knows who those people are? Who are those people? On raw nights like this, I perform like Chris. Anyone, Parker. Who's Chris Parker? Anybody know who's Chris Parker? Y'all YouTube, y'all Google. Oh man, y'all terrible, bro. Anytime it take y'all too long, I know y'all Googling AI and like it's crazy. Who's Christopher Rios? Who's Christopher Wallace? Yo. Have they made this is from Twitter too. So shout out to the HJ. Shout out to Hotepistan. Have they made cardiovascular disease an official autoimmune disease yet? The foam cells are crazy. Listen, when I first started discussing foam cells, remember they were saying I was making that up. So I warned y'all that we was a zillion years into the future with that. and the clock is ticking, but we still in the future with that. Yeah, we're still in the future with the foam cells. Like we still in the future with that. Yeah. So if people are watching and y'all don't know what we're talking about, foam cells are the problem when it comes to cholesterol. Yeah, foam cells are the problem when it comes to cholesterol. Foam cells are the white blood cells that come along and try to chew up the fat hanging around in the blood. And when they do that, they get so obese themselves that they turn into a different type of thing. That's called the foam cell, and it resembles like the little marshmallow men from Ghostbusters. Kid you not. And so they blow up and multiply and block off the blood vessel. Y'all so late. Y'all so late. Now y'all done Googled up the names. Now y'all done Googled up the names. Now y'all done Googled up some names, and now y'all tap back in. And what about Chris Parker? Chris Parker was the first one. That's a hint right there. Chris Parker was the first one. 1, 1, 1. Yeah, Chris Parker is KRS-One. Yeah. Shout out to my little brother for that line. He ghost wrote that for me. He came up with that line and he was like, yo, this line is too dope for me. This is what he's saying about himself. He was like, yo, this is too good for me. You got to put this in one of your songs. I was like, yeah, I'll take that. Let me get that. Give me that. Yeah, on raw nights like that. But it was a Biggie flip, right? Because remember, Biggie said, on raw nights like this, I perform like, no. He said, on raw nights, something, I perform like Mike. Yeah. Anyone, Tyson, Jordan, Jackson, Action, Pack Guns, Ridiculous, right? So, yeah, it was just a flip to give some love to the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? Big Pun, KRS. And then obviously he had to throw Biggie in there because it was Biggie line. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, all right. So, come on. Let's foam cells, right? Let's get back to holidays. Right? Holidays. So, without going through the whole list, right? But we do have some. And the reason why all of this is happening right now, we having this discussion. If you watching this video on a replay, feel free to drop your commentary, because I know people are going to want to have a say in this conversation, right? They be like, yo, September 13th, we should be doing this. Yo, I was thinking that November 13th, we should do this, or April, whatever. Like, this is that conversation. Speak now or forever hold your. Speak now or drop it under the YouTube video in the comment section, or forever hold your peace. Right? You just be a part of, you know, how we put it together. Right? But one of our days is going to be dedicated to breathing. Right? That's going to be July 13th. So July 13th, every year we'll do a marathon, or maybe like, I was thinking like 62 miles the next thing, like 62-mile bike ride. I don't know. I might just be tripping. 62-mile bike ride, dog. But right now, the goal is to conquer, right? To get everybody inspired to drop their digital marathons. Like, we want to see folks do their marathon. Even if you have to take a day off and take a walk for a whole day, right? You can do it however you got to get it done. You know what I'm saying? Like, we went to a gas station. So the way we walked, we planned it out. There's an outhouse, like, I want to say like 7 miles in, there's an outhouse, right? So boom, we hit the outhouse. Is it 7? Maybe 6 miles. Yeah, about 6 miles in, there's an outhouse. Then another, I want to say another 5 miles from there, there's a gas station, right? So we planned it out where we had the stops that we needed. And then I had a book bag full of grapefruits. I had 6 grapefruits and 2 oranges, to be exact. And then in Chase bag, he had 2 16-ounce coconut waters and 2 maybe 32 ounces, whatever that bigger size is. He had 2 of the big coconut waters and then 2 of the smaller ones, the 16 ounce or 14 ounce, whatever those are, right? So we had 4 of those, and those was just the last ones they had in the supermarket. So we got 2 little ones, 2 big ones, coconut waters, and then we had a bunch of grapefruits and 2 oranges. And we set out with that. When we made it to the gas station, marks like where Detroit is, right? So we made it to the gas station the first time. We just went in there, used the bathroom, and came out and kept going deeper into Detroit. Then we came back the second time because my father trained me, like, you don't just go use a person's place of business without doing business. So since we did them dirty the first time, we went in there, just used the bathroom, ain't buy nothing. The second time we went in to use the bathroom, we bought those vegan cookies. Quiet on the set. Thank you. Caleb. Close this and then go that way, sir. Thank you. But yeah, so the second time we bought those vegan protein cookies, right? I had one. Chase had half, right? He didn't like the taste of it, so he didn't want it. He gave it to me. I was like, I can't do nothing with it. You know what I'm saying? So I wound up wrapping it up, put it in my pocket, bring it home. The girls ate it, whatever the case may be. But that was it. My point in saying that is this. It's not a professional marathon, right? So if you need to walk somewhere along your walk and go to the smoothie bar and get you a smoothie or juice, or if you pass a food stand and you get you a whatever, you know what I'm saying? You get you a little falafel or something. You did whatever you had to do to keep it going. You did whatever needed to be done to keep it going. You know what I'm saying? Like, do whatever you need to do to get it done. Like, period. Don't set no standards or rules for yourself, especially if you're trying to do the whole 26 miles. Me, I made sure I had 10 to 12 hours straight, like, set for this. Like, this is what it is. Everything fails, I'll just take an Uber from wherever I'm at back to the house, right? But yeah, you don't have to, as long as you stay standing. I think that was the only rule for me. Like, once you sit down, technically it's a wrap. You're not really, you know what I'm saying? So you can't go in a restaurant and sit down for 30 minutes and, you know, knock off a plate and then get back. Like, that's you. Yeah, you out of pocket. You know what I'm saying? But you stop, grab you some drinks or some snacks that you can walk with. And if you got to walk the whole thing, if you walk the whole 26 miles, it might take you, I don't know, it might take you on the other side of 10 hours. It might take you 11, 12, 13 hours to get it done. But hey, you get it done in 13, 15 hours. Hey, if you get it done in, 15 hours, you got it done. Like, that was my whole thing. was to get it on the record. Like however long it takes me, I'm just going to get it done. Then once it's done, the next year, I can try to beat myself, right? I can try to put on more stringent rules. You know, I could put a heart rate thing or maybe a pace for a certain time, which is what Chase wants to do. You know, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I just wanted to get it done, get it documented. Boom, here's the record. Bang, we got one. You know what I'm saying? And then you work from there to improve yourself. Don't set nothing. And so even if you try to do 26 and you only get 10 miles in, okay, boom, you got 10 miles in. You know what I'm saying? Like you got you in. You got 10 miles in. You know what I'm saying? Like you did your thing. Next year, the goal is 12 miles or 15 miles or whatever the case may be. Or maybe you want to do the same 10, right? Maybe 10 is your ceiling. So boom, 10. Next year, you want to do 10, same 10, but maybe half the time or just a lower time or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? But the idea is okay, yeah. Brand of coconut water. Man, it's only really one real brand of coconut water. Yo, it's only really one real brand of coconut water. Let me see if I can pull it up on the screen real quick. What's the name of this company? No, see, yeah, all these is fake. Okay, there you go. Harmless Harvest. Yeah, Harmless Harvest. In all my time buying coconut waters, I think I only seen one other company, and they was like local, right? But Harmless Harvest is the coconut water. Here, let's go back over here real quick. All of these are a waste of money, right? So you might as well just get you some plain tap water, right? And put you some Mama Tonics in it. Listen, get you some Mama Tonics. Y'all got to get Mama Tonics. Y'all got to get flown. Y'all got to get your supplement game together. Get you some Mama Tonics and just drop it in your water if you're going to get these. These are not it, right? These are not it. These are tap water. Yeah, these are tap water. Don't waste your time with those. This right here is raw, right? This is real coconut water. If you're used to drinking coconut water out of the coconut, when you drink that, you'll notice it tastes the same. That's coconut water. Those cannot be on the shelf. If those are on the shelf for a day or two, they're going to go bad. Those are real coconut water. When you go in the supermarket and you see all those other brands and you notice that they're on the shelf, like next to canned goods, that tells you right there, though, that is not coconut water. If they're on the shelf next to canned goods, you know for a fact those are not real like that. That's not real. So all of those companies, all of those Zicos and all of that stuff, that's not real coconut water. And they might be good drinks, but that's all they are. Those will be good drinks at best. They're not good coconut. It's not coconut water. Those things do not come from coconuts. Yeah. Now, these are expensive. This is the big one right here, the 32 ounce. This is the 32 ounce. That's what we had. We had two of those, and we had two of the smaller ones. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know you're like, hold up, EnQi, you spent $30 on coconut waters? And what you spent on grapefruits and woo. I bought a bag. The big bag was on sale for $5.99. So I grabbed the big bag. Plus, we had 2 oranges already in the house. Threw that in. So it wasn't that bad. But $40 worth of stuff. I mean, it could seem expensive, but for me, about to embark on a 26-mile. Yo, I was scared. Chase gung ho. I was worried, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to make sure we had everything that we needed to keep, you know, to keep the body moving, stay cool, keep the body moving, you know, and not get any injuries. Yeah, well, those is coconuts. That's actual coconuts. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Chinese joints and them joints be $5. That's where they actually listen. The Harmless Harvest people price their drinks from the actual Chinese people. So if you're not from New York, you may not know about this, right? Maybe New York, and I think maybe like Florida people probably know what time it is. You know what I'm saying? But in New York, the Chinese people have the cold coconuts, and they be out on the side of the road, different places, or they might be walking around, and they sell you the coconut. All you got to do is pop open the top. The hard part is cut. You just got to stick your straw in or poke a hole in it and drink the coconut. That's $5. That's literally inside that coconut is about 12 to 16 ounces of coconut water. So Harmless Harvest basically bottled that, and they charge roughly about the same $5. You know, it depends on where you go. They should be about $5. You know, $4.50 is the right price. You know what I'm saying? But some places I've seen them as high as $6 or $7 for the 16 ounce. And right there on Amazon, they're getting a little beside themselves, $11 right there for the 32 ounce. That's supposed to be like $9. You know what I'm saying? But stop playing. Stop playing. No. No. The Kirkland brand, y'all are trolling. No, y'all didn't think that. No. Those things is terrible. Just put the Mama Tonics in your water. Like, because mostly what everybody's getting is expensive tap. And all these companies is pimping us like crazy with the tap water. You know what I'm saying? So we drink tap water. You know what I'm saying? It's just a matter of quality of water, you know. And when you can afford artesian, you know, artesian is a good way to go. Artesian waters are water from icebergs, right? So artesian waters are good. Fiji's are artesian water, just in case, right? Fiji is an example of artesian water. Artesian waters are good. Rainwaters are good. I like rainwaters. You know what I'm saying? Rainwaters tend to be a little pricey though. So rainwaters for me is like the equivalent of somebody popping open some wine on a special day or something like that. You know me, I might pop some rainwaters open, you know, like Dr. EnQi vibes, you know what I'm saying? Like, but other than that, spring water, good old fashioned spring water. Good old fashioned spring water will not steer you wrong. You know what I'm saying? Good old fashioned spring water. Inexpensive and good for the body. Right? Because I don't want people to think that I'm implying that I'm drinking a whole bunch of these $5 and $10 drinks. That is not. We would not be able to pay the Wi-Fi. Peter and Paul will be at the door like, so hold up. Peter and Paul, listen, Peter and Paul will be arguing with each other outside my doorway about which one is going to attack me first. They're like, hold up now, listen. Peter, this is Paul talking to Peter. Peter, when he was robbing me to pay you, you know, it was kind of respectable. But do you know he got the nerve? You know, he got the nerve to like he done spent our money on coconut water. Like, that's like you got a baby mama and a new girlfriend. Your baby mama and your new girlfriend then got together and realized you done went like to a strip club or a poker game or something crazy. They both on you like, wait, what? Yeah, so Peter and Paul like, yeah. No, that was just for the occasion to make sure, you know what I'm saying, that we was hydrated, because potassium is very important. Potassium is very important in fueling something like an endurance. You know what I'm saying? So if it had been a mental exam, right, bananas would have been good. Bananas would have been good, but bananas, right, no water. Right? No water. So on an endurance thing, you know, you ain't really trying to like, bananas not the thing. Grapefruits full of water, oranges full of water and sugar. Right? So the oranges I saved, even though we only had one each, strategic. I was strategic with them oranges. Like, oh, he wanted to rip right in. I was like, oh, we got to save them oranges, champ. That's for the turnaround. I don't know when the turnaround is going, how many miles we're going to be in before we decide to turn back. But when that moment happens, that's when we bust open the oranges. Get that quick blast of sugars and try to do something. But yeah, you know, pack your bag accordingly, but get busy with the get busy. So things like that, you know, that's going to be, you know, yearly holiday celebration, right? Then we'll have different things that pertain strictly to us, and then some things that coincide with other days, right? So that we can create other conversations, right? We don't need to be discussing Christopher Columbus and the Indians on Thanksgiving, bro. I'm a vomit. I'm ready to vomit. You know what I'm saying? If I hear one more Moorish, like, like, nah, bro. I don't want to hear nothing about the Black Indians, Christopher Columbus. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? I heard that. I know. I already know everything about Christopher Columbus journal and the whole program. I don't want to hear nobody say, how did he discover America when people's already here? Like, if that's what you think is intelligent, if you think that's good, like you earning intelligence points with, but you missed that boat. You missed that boat, right? You missed that boat. Okay, so we want to have new conversations, right? We want to have new conversations. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the people that don't know, obviously it's your responsibility to teach folks if they don't know the true story, you know what I'm saying, about those days. But that shouldn't consume our time, and it definitely should not consume our airwaves. We have a lot more important stuff that we need to be discussing than Christopher Columbus when it comes to the holiday, especially a couple of days before Black Friday. 2 days before Black Friday, we can't talk about nothing else but who brung the liquor and whether Christopher Columbus is like, nah, we gotta do better. So yeah, so we gotta do, yeah. No Gullah Geechee convos. I'm good. No Gullah Geechee, no, you know, Washita, Moorish, none of that. None of that. We already heard all that 1,000 times, bro. We good on all them combos. We don't want to hear none of that. No Santa Claus, the fake Santa Claus. I'm not doing Kwanzaa. We done did Kwanzaa, me and my babies. We done did Hanukkah. We done did Christmas 1,000 times. Listen. And I prefer Christmas over Kwanzaa anyway. Yeah, I prefer Christmas over Kwanzaa. So, If you don't know if you don't really know what Kwanzaa, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's another thing. I don't want to be the bad Debbie Downer anymore either. Right? I don't want to be spreading bad news now. Right? Because I feel like I know too much about everything. You know what I'm saying? People are like, wait a minute, I love Kwanzaa. Then you keep enjoying it. You keep enjoying it. You going ahead and you enjoy your Kwanzaa. We don't need to know nothing about if homeboy that made Kwanzaa snitched on him. Like, well, just going ahead and enjoy Kwanzaa with your family because that's all that's important. You know what I'm saying? Blue magic, hot water, and honey. Um, hmm. Do I ever do blue magic, hot water, and honey? I'm only thinking so hard on it, to be honest, because I've done so many things with blue magic. Oh man, I've had blue magic by itself and just had the face like this the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, I mean, I don't see nothing wrong with it, you know, outside of the honey. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what type of honey that is you're using. You know, 95% of the honey out there is trash. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what kind of honey you're using, but I don't see nothing wrong with that. Just to have you some blue magic, throw a little honey in there, put some hot water in there. Yeah. I just always have herbs, right? You know what I'm saying? I always have herbs. So having, I'm just identifying with, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can see how maybe if you ran out of tea or if you don't have any chemi, you should have chemi. You should always have chemi. It's a monthly detox. What are y'all doing if y'all not doing the monthly detox? Right? All you got to do is take one capsule and drop that in your hot water. That's your tea right there. Yeah. Just bust one capsule open. Like, put your blue magic in, open a capsule of the detox herbs. That's the chemiluminescence. Open one capsule, put that in there, put the hot water, boop, and then put your honey, of course, or whatever, you know. Yeah. Mm. Strictly North American. Um, no, not strictly North American, but I do talk about a lot of them. I talk about a lot of North American herbs. Yeah. And when you go through the books, a lot of times I'll talk about where the different herbs is from in the books. But the books will have different things in there. But no, it'll tell you what's in there. It'll tell you what's in there. I use a lot of them. Dandelions are North American, burdock, hydrangea. Yeah. If you ever come to my house, I got a hydrangea in front of my house that's bigger than my house. Yeah, I just pulled like three big bags of three garbage bags worth of vines, and I love these vines. Oh my God, they were so pretty. It was so pretty and it was so nice. I felt in my heart the pain of like ripping them off. You know what I'm saying? Like, it hurt me to do it, but I had to do it because they was smothering my hydrangea. But the vines was nice. They was very respectful. They never like violated my windows or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? But they was definitely violating the hydrangea. And they had got to the point where they was like gonna kill my hydrangea. Yeah. So I had to get active. Like, nobody violates the hydrangea. That's my favorite. I got 3 different types of hydrangea. Yeah. Nobody violates the hydrangea. Nah, man, it's not Mission Impossible. Don't say that. Yeah. The blue magic it's an acquired taste. It's an acquired taste. That's why I used to have the gold sea moss as well. Like that's why a lot of people they sell gold sea moss. Right? They market it as gold sea moss, but really it's dead. It has very little minerals in it, very little iodine. It has very little of any. Or when you look up the benefits of algae, that yellow stuff is the lowest. It has barely anything in it. Barely anything in it. That's why it doesn't stink. It doesn't stink and it doesn't taste bad because it has very little ocean left in it. The more ocean, the more you're gonna smell that ocean. You're gonna, ooh, okay, yeah, this is from the ocean right here. Yeah, this is definitely from the ocean. This has all the nutrition still in it. This clearly has all the nutrition still in it. This is very oceanful. This is a jar. This is a bottle of ocean right here. But yeah, that's why they do the yellow sea moss. Is it's the cheapest in terms of wholesale. It's the least expensive, right? Because it's popular, you can mark it up really high, and because the whole gimmick to it is that it has no, almost no nutrition in it. You don't have to have any trouble with storing it. You don't have to have any trouble with storing it. If you're storing a colored moss, colored algae, you have to store it very well. You have to store it very well. So it gets to be a headache. So the yellow sea moss works for a wide variety of reasons of entrepreneurism. The yellow sea moss is great for everybody except the consumer. The consumer is getting the shaft with yellow sea moss because it does not have the nutrition that people associate with sea moss. It doesn't have, so you could drink 1,000 gallons of that and you're not going to really get no, except for the placebo effect. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I'll be drinking sea moss every day, son. I bet you do. Yeah, I bet you do. You know what I'm saying? But on the flip side, it is a good entry level, sea moss for people to just get used to, feeling like they're doing something, making some gel, playing with it. Like it's a good entry thing. It doesn't really have a taste, no smell. So you can kind of get in the groove and get in the culture, form the habits. But, you need to upgrade. It's like people that used to eat meat, then they go plant-based and they get stuck on eating fake chicken and fake macaroni and cheese, and they never really get to the vegetable side. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of the yellow sea moss. It's like you got stuck into transition moss. Yeah, you're not getting any nutrition. You just buying extra. Yeah, you just buying an extra supplement. You're not building bones from yellow sea moss. Like that's not what you're doing over there. He said Yaki about to steal this one. Yaki watching now probably. He watches heavy. He watches heavy. His baby mom's watches. That's how he keeps track of me. His baby mom's watches the videos, and then she tells him what to steal. You know what I'm saying? They Bonnie and Clyde with it. She live in Atlanta. She watched the video, steal a drip. You know, first Rich was telling them, no, you got to do this and this and this and replace EnQi. They was trying to blackball me. They didn't realize everybody can just go live on YouTube. You can't really blackball someone on YouTube. Right? All right. So in the kitchen chemistry book, the new kitchen chemistry book, so we can get to business, right? Because we just talking, right? But in the new kitchen chemistry book, it's going to have the schedule, right? It's going to have a schedule. And I think we worked it out, right? Friday night at 10 p.m. Thursday, 7 p.m. Saturday and Sunday at noon, right? Or that might be, we rocking noon, so we can start off with the prayer. We ain't ducking no prayers, right? And then of course Tuesday is etched in stone, right? 8 p.m. That's Medicine Day, right? That's Medicine Day. Tuesdays at 8. Yeah, and then Monday and Wednesday, it's like work days behind the scenes. I'm studying, writing, researching, orders, cooking up stuff in the kitchen, bitters, right? All right, so that's that. Yeah, I like that. Right, and then we know what's what, right? Friday is degree work. Friday is degree work. We got Sunday school on Sunday. Current events on Saturday. Right? And then we could do a little bit of trolling on Thursday. We trolling on Thursday. What we doing on Thursday? We trolling on Thursday? Or we doing comedic naturopathy on Thursday? I think Thursday we just dedicate to our comedic studies. Right? So we'll just leave Thursday open for comedic study. Yeah, we'll do that. Right? And then we have our holidays for the year. We have our holidays. Those will be in the book. Now, the reason why I keep saying it and not completing the thought, but the reason why I'm rolling all this out in the kitchen chemistry book is because when I dropped the first kitchen chemistry book, people asked me about holidays. That was one of the most, I ain't going to say weird. Sometimes we use the word weird like out of context. Actually, you know what? We use weird in context, but weird has been given like a euphemistic definition with a certain stigma to it, right? So when you use it in the correct context, it seems out of context, right? But I wasn't expecting those questions. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't expecting questions about holidays with the first kitchen chemistry book, but because it's like a food book, people is like, yo, but what am I supposed to do on Thanksgiving? And what am I supposed to do on Christmas? Right? And so this is just from my humble 20 years in the game. We have to create our own traditions. Like just now, we created a tradition now, first annual digital marathon. So now you could be anywhere in the world and participate, right? All right. So every year, July 13th, that's what we're going to do that weekend. You know what I'm saying? We'll celebrate. And some people will participate, some people won't, right? Some people do their prayers 5 times a day. Some people do their prayers 3 times a day. Some people do their prayers twice a day. Some people are just watching this channel and they're not improving their health. They're not improving their mind. They're just watching the video for entertainment. And for those people, we appreciate them and their support as well, because guess what? There's a threshold that's different for everybody. Some people, you know, still waters run deep. So they're watching. They're not active yet. But there's a point where it'll click and they'll become active. And when that time comes, they'll already have 6 months, 2 years, 6 years, 5 years, 5 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever that time period is. They'll have that much information stored. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's better to measure twice and cut once. You know what I'm saying? So, but at the same time, you don't want to be hanging around watching folks do the impossible while you know. Because Osborne is supposed to be dead a long time ago. I just want y'all to know that. So when y'all see Osborne in the chat, like Osborne was supposed to be dead. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like they gave Osborne a couple of weeks. You know what I'm saying? That was years ago. You know what I'm saying? So don't just hang around and watch people do the impossible and have amazing testimonies and stories, and you know, you're just kind of watching the videos. You know what I'm saying? You need to be getting busy. Starts with the prayer. Very simple. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. If you do 4 minutes 5 times a day, that's only 20 minutes. That's only 1% of your day. Think about that. 1% of your day to begin to change your heart health and your brain health and lower your risk for Alzheimer's and dementia and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, there's that. So we'll have that in the kitchen chemistry book, and not necessarily like the recipes and this and this, but you know, just what we should be doing, state of mind, study material, maybe just the basics, but the layout for the holidays, so that we can then start to build our own traditions. Because I've done everything else. I've done the fake, you know what I'm saying? Like you in a weird place on Thanksgiving. You in a totally weird place on Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? You're not trying to celebrate killing the Indians and Christopher Columbus, but you got to hold it down with the family, right? Then you don't eat what they eat now. Like it's all weird. You know what I'm saying? It's all weird. You know what I'm saying? So you got to eat your own thing and then come, you know what I'm saying? Like it's weird. You know what I'm saying? So we have to step into the space. We have to step into the light. You know what I'm saying? We have to be who we are. Right. And in that regard, we have to develop our own traditions. We have to reinvent the wheel. Right. We done spent like what, 50 years of complaining. People been complaining about these same things before we was alive. Before we was alive, my uncle was telling me that Christmas is the white man holiday. And most of them was just trying to get an excuse to not have to be broke, you know, to be left alone while they was broke, and they, you know, they had like an honorable reason that they didn't buy nobody no gifts. Like, I didn't buy no gifts because this is the white man. Well, you knock it off. They cut your unemployment 2 months ago. So if it was charcoal holiday, you wouldn't be buying no gifts. What are you talking about? So, yeah, so we got to figure out our, we got to figure out our thing, right? We got to figure out our thing. You know what I'm saying? And just do some different, and still celebrate with our families and do whatever else. You know what I'm saying? Still do your Muslim thing if you're Muslim, your Israelite thing, or you're Jewish, or you're Christian, or you're Catholic, or you're Protestant. You still do your Jehovah, whatever it is you're doing. But we just have to develop our own traditions. So we got that. Then we left off. Where did we leave off yesterday?
This is the Bible of the electrogenic cell. It's not just the best book ever written on the subject, it's the only book ever written on this subject. Brought to you by supporters of Christ.
All right, so I know what we was doing. Bust out the brand new marker. I'm getting the workout, busting it out, though. I know where he was at. Right? We was talking about, what was it? 370. And Chase was somewhere around what? Like 300 watts per second. Right? Somewhere around these numbers. Right? $370, and I was at 370. Chase was at 300, and it's just based on being bigger and weighing, having more weight per second. This is our watts output, our electrical output, and then we stopped. I know where we stopped at. We got into the calculus conversation, right? We got into the calculus conversation. Right, because his broke down to somewhere near 9 million joules over 8 hours, and mine was 11 million. Right, and we can get those numbers way higher. Right, we can get those numbers way higher. Right, but I didn't know how my wind was going to be. I didn't know how my legs was going to be, my knees. I didn't know how I was going to hold up. So I was restricting a lot of the movement during our little trek. But this is what I was talking about in terms of the hidden jewels. Now, we got into the calculus because I was talking about the cardiac melanocytes regulating the heart going up, accelerating and decelerating, right? Accelerating, decelerating, but based on electrical activity, right? So the electricity you generate directly takes the wheel. Like, how Jesus take the wheel? Like your body's electricity drives the car. You control the current output. So when you want to change things in your body, you got to change this, right? This is the deeper level to understanding electrogenesis, right? How producing electricity drives, and we've been talking about this for years. It's just now we have the codex, right? Now we have the codex and the surrounding books around it to where we can really make, bring it to the simplest stage. But for the longest, I just been telling folks, listen, your body runs on binary coding. At the base of that binary coding is electricity and magnetism. Just on top of that, you have your cytokines. On top of that, you have your hormones, right? And then you have specific stuff, right? You got like tissue specific stuff, right? And just keeping it simple and then keeping it moving. Throughout the Kemetic naturopathy series, we have gotten deep into a lot of specifics. So now we know gap junctions. We know what gap junctions do, to stay literally plugged into their neighboring cells and how they communicate. We know how cells use nerves in the short term, right? Without the spine. They activate nerve impulses and ionic flow, right? Filament behavior. Actually, we got a lot more conversation to go into surrounding filaments, right? But we've gotten a lot of the periphery out, right? I'm sure folks are at home going crazy with these two books. Oh my goodness. I don't know how long. What is going on right now? Get your butt off my street. Man. But y'all don't know how long I've been waiting to drop these books. Or these concepts anyway. Because I have concepts that I just be working on in my notebooks. And I'll be building on them and building on them and building on them until I feel like I got it right to bring to the public. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. This book here, I've probably been working on this book since I was a boy. Since the very first time I heard about crazy concepts like triple stage darkness and God creating himself and, blah, blah, blah. All right. So goodies there. Right. All right. Let me see what we pick back up. I think we should jump around though. Jump around. We're going to stick with the jogging though. We are going to stick with the jogging for a second. Because I want y'all to understand what we're doing. Right? We're implementing this into the culture. That's why we're having such a big conversation on this. We're bringing this into the culture. I don't necessarily need y'all to sprint. Some of us are past the age of ever sprinting again. I'm still sprinting. I'm proud. Sometimes it takes me, like this year, 2025, took me the longest time to get to a sprint. Yeah, but that's primarily because my leg was broken in January, right? So, but I'll make no excuses. It took me 7 months to get, to a full sprint. Yeah, 7 months. to get to a full sprint, like running as hard as you can run. Yeah. Hey. That's when you know you together. That's when you know you together. You don't need a doctor to tell you. If you are past 40 years old, if you are 40 years old or over and you could bust out a full blast run, like you could run, you all right. You all right. You still at that stage in life. You know, when you young, anything can happen to you. And your parent, they'd be like, you all right. You stop crying. Stop. You all right. You put some ice on that. You all right. You still all right. You still in that stage where you all right. You good. You ain't got to worry. Like there's a stage where if somebody like gets a cut on their foot, there's a stage in life past 40 for some people. Some people could push it to 60, 80, 100, but there's a stage where you get a cut on your foot and people are worried they might get their foot cut off. Yeah. A cut on the foot is a death sentence, right? There's an age where if you fall down, people thinking they might be dead. Dead. Yeah, dead. Yeah, you fracture that hip, you got 12 months to go. You got 12 months to live. If you fracture that hip, depending on what condition you in, but if you fracture that hip, you might as well, that's like a cancer sentence. I kid you not. Look up the numbers. If you fracture that hip, you fall down and fracture that hip, that's like the same as they tell you got pancreatic cancer. You on the clock. You got things to figure out. You got to go, get your will together, talk to them folks, right? So if you can bust out in a full, let me see who in the chat could bust out in a full run. Who in the chat could do a full run? Come on, let's see. Talk that talk now. Let's see who in the chat could do a full run. I don't see no activity in the chat. This is scary. Yo. Kyle said most definitely. Okay, Kyle. We're going to add a caveat to it. I don't even know what that means. Michael, I don't even know. And that's out of, you might have did a typo. Okay, Tika showing off. Now, okay, so now we got our show offs in here. Okay, now how many people are still running over 40? If you running and you over 40, you in an elite group. If you running and you over 40, you in an elite group. Come on. Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. 40 is when you get into, well, listen, if you're under 40, right? If you're under 40 and you could do 20 push-ups, if you're over 25 years old and you can do 25 push-ups or more, you are in an elite group. And if it sounds easy to you, if 25 push-ups sound crazy, like what you mean elite group? Everybody could do 25 push-ups. If you think that, You have great company. You're in a great group of people. That's number one, because that might just be a reference to the people you're around. Especially if you around hanging out with Dr. EnQi. This space that we done created, this is unique space. This isn't, in the rest of the world, in the rest of America, don't think like, because see, here's what happens. Algorithms tailor what we watch on social media. Algorithms tailor that. So what happens is, if we into health stuff, we start to see a lot of it. And when we see a lot of it, we start to believe that's what it is. Go and take your butt to Walmart. Go to Walmart and you're going to see what it really is. It's still people that's big, riding around on the carts in the supermarket, asking you, like, hey, can you grab me that cola right there? Yeah, give me that 3-liter cola right there. Give me that the orange one too. Can you pass me that? Yeah. So we live in that place still. Yes, you in an elite group, right? And that's kind of what we want. That's what I'm teaching. That's what I'm doing all this work. Like I'm hoping I'm cultivating an elite group, right? I'm hoping, like I pray for that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of our goal here is to have an elite group. But I want you to understand that you're in an elite group. You know what I'm saying? And we can always get better, right? And we can always get better. Right? So understanding these triggers, producing electricity creates or not, right? Sedentary lifestyle versus electrogenic lifestyle. Your body produces a whole different set of myokines and chemokines. Right? Myokines and chemokines. Those are two different types of cytokines, right? Cytokines is the language, the words that cells use to talk to one another, right? So sedentary lifestyle produces a lot of foul language, a lot of F this, B that, MF or this and that and the other. Like it's a lot of foul language. Exercise produces a lot of eloquent speech, right? Eloquent speech, right? No, it's okay. It's okay. Because listen to this. When you're trying to steal somebody's shine, just always remember, you got to stand in their shadow. When you try to steal somebody's shine, you got to stand in their shadow. You know what I'm saying? So it's cool. They doing their thing. Right? They doing their thing. All right, so let's get into some specifics though. Let's get a little deeper, right? So let's start with the jogging, right? Let's start with the jogging. Right? Let's start with the jogging. The first thing that we're going to wrestle, the first thing we're going to deal with, now this we left off on yesterday, so if you're taking notes or you ordered the teacher's edition book or you already have the teacher's edition book, you should already have those in front of you, right? But remember your degree work, right? Remember your degree work. If you have the American Healer, volume 1, right? The first degree is what? If you have this book, what is the first degree about? The first degree. Let me see who's studying in the chat. If you have this book, what is the first degree about? Where y'all at? Yeah, you can't Google that. You can't Google what is EnQi's first degree about. Come on. The first degree right? It's about AMPK, right? The K stands for kinase, right? So it's an AMP enzyme, right? And it's an active enzyme. It's a sensitive enzyme, right? So before we get into diabetes, before we get into obesity and all of these other different key things.
Osborne, bro, listen. The single most important thing about diabetes you got to remember is, listen, as a matter of fact, when we get into Bentley, I'll explain it. Thank God Jimmy sent us this Bentley. Listen, wait. Who? Get us to the mansion. Get us to the mansion. My wife. From the crown of thorns to facial change.
Okay. So now, quick recap, right? Quick recap. AMPK, the K stands for kinase, right? AMP is depleted ADP to AMP, right? So you have ATP. Oh, that's what I left off. Right? You have ATP, ADP, and then AMP. Right? That's what AMPK for. AMPK is a sensor for AMP. So that means it's a sensor for when ATP is at its lowest. Right? So before you get into insulin resistance.
Osborne, bro, listen. The single most important thing about diabetes you got to remember is, listen, as a matter of fact, when we get into Bentley, I'll explain it. Thank God Jimmy sent us this Bentley. Listen, wait. Who? Get us to the mansion. Get us to the mansion. My wife. From the
Okay. Again, you now be having daddy moments. So before we get deep into diabetics with insulin resistance, melanin concentrating hormone resistance, obesity, and all of those metabolic issues, this is a silent player. Like, this is a key silent player in the game, right? These enzymes are supposed to sense when your body's energy is running low and initiate the transition to whatever plan B is, right? However you run in your temple, whatever plan B is. So if plan B is to go from, like glucose as a substrate to now fatty acid, right? Or if, if maybe you're not really pushing the temple, right? So you just going AMPK, back to melanin concentrating hormone, back to the kitchen, back to the grocery store for cupcakes, or back to, snack time, back to, the cheese, but Subway sandwich, or like wherever you going with your dynamic, right? AMPK is the sensor. It's the energy sensor, right? So if there's an energy metabolism issue, it stands to reason that we're supposed to look here, right? These are all of the things that we did during our melanin versus diabetes time, right? Trying to crack the official code on diabetes, especially in a world where everybody feel like they already know how to deal with diabetes. Everybody know how to deal with diabetes. Meanwhile, diabetes killing more people than Vietnam, right? So this is a key player in the whole energy system breakdown, right? And if you're dealing with weight issues, you're dealing with sugar issues, you're dealing with salt issues, that's energy system problem. If you're holding on to water, energy system problem, right? So this is the key player in the energy system, right? This is the sensor. This is the smoke detector in the energy system, right? Or not smoke detector. Let's go motion detector. Yeah, let's go motion detector. Before I get jumped on, like, what smoke? Ain't nothing burning, right, EnQi? Motion detector. Right? Or better yet, lack of motion detector, right? So AMPK, you reset the body's AMPK stores, levels, and activity when you push your body through endurance activities. Now, these are things that you cannot get bench pressing. It doesn't matter how much you bench press and how fast you bench press, because some of our folks are stuck on lifting weights, right? They don't realize that exercising produces drugs in your mind, just like heroin and cocaine does, right? Cocaine is not the thing that gets you high. Cocaine stimulates neurochemistry that gets you high. Heroin stimulates neurochemistry that gets you high. You know what I'm saying? Marijuana stimulates neurochemistry that gets you high. Exercise is the same. It stimulates neurochemistry that gets you high. So you have people that get addicted to calisthenics, and so everything good in life comes through calisthenics. You can't tell them nothing. Can't tell them nothing about no weights, no cardio, nothing. Hey, listen, I can do more push-ups. I can do more push. Same thing with lifting weights. They just dumbbell it. Well, what I can do is I can take these weights and I can turn this into a circuit training, and I can. Just use the weights for what the weight's good for. Use the calisthenics and the isometrics for what they're good for. Use the running, the swimming, the jumping rope, etc. for what they're good for. Like, let's just, right? But swimming, biking, running, endurance training is where you're going to be able to optimize AMPK to another level, right? And you need it. You need it, right? You need it, and you need to be able to dial other folks in, right? You need to be able to dial other folks in because they need it, right? So now, mind you, all this stuff that we're talking about is going to be in the Teacher's Edition book and the Kitchen Chemistry book, right? In the Kitchen Chemistry book. The Kitchen Chemistry book is going to have a lot more than just kitchen chemistry, right? So let's look at a couple of other key players that are subordinate to AMPK, right? When I say subordinate to AMPK, now we have purple phase, right? Purple phase is going to activate all these things. So purple phase takes your endurance training to another level, right? Purple phase takes your endurance training to another level. Right? But like I said, if you recognize some of these guys, it's important. If you recognize some of these guys, it's important. If you don't recognize them, it's okay. You learning right now. Right? You learning right now. Right? AMPK, GLUT4, CP1, PGC1A. What are these things here, Doc? What are these things? What is this? Right? Well, this right here is for getting insulin and glucose into the cell. Right? That's for getting insulin and glucose into the cell. So this is another, but again, AMPK activates GLUT4 molecules. AMPK activates CPT. AMPK activates PGC. AMPK is responsible for these. So if your AMPK is not, if your AMPK, your adenosine monophosphate sensors are not working, these things are not working, right? These things are not working. So you're not going to get your fat into the mitochondria, right? So we talk about cytochrome 2 and fatty acids breaking down to produce that current, electricity, electrons, right? That's this guy. Right? And then in response for, so if the AMP level stays high, right? If the AMP level stays high from activity, not because you're starving in the desert, right? From activity, right? Your melanin concentrating hormone stays high. You ignore it, right? This is a secret part of the autophagy healing cascade, right? This is initiated, AMPK, melanin concentrating hormone, right? This goes into mitochondrial biogenesis. So the mitochondria divide, they get smaller, and they get faster, and the amount of mitochondria you have per cell goes up. The amount that goes, the higher the number of mitochondria in each cell, the faster you can create electricity, right? The faster you can turn sugar and fat into electricity. Right? So now remember, This is internal. This all happens before myokines or cytokines, right? So this is electrical signals. This is all regulated by electricity inside your cell. This is all electrical activity, right? Just so that we're all on the same page. This is all electrical activity, right? And we designed the purple phase to facilitate, but not so you could take purple phase and think that it's like exercise in a bottle, and so you don't have to exercise. That's not the idea, right? That's not the idea, but this is absolutely a part of what went into the formula for purple phase to be so efficient at warming you up, helping you to shed that weight, helping you to shed the weight, regain insulin sensitivity, fat mobilization, and get that, that bounce, that bounciness, that bouncy, you know what I mean? That can't even put that into words, like that feeling, you know what I'm saying? Like when I'm at Chase basketball practice and the practice is over and I'm like, all right, yo, coach, open gym. I'm almost 50 and they're talking about, yeah, let me see that rock. What? What? What you reach, I teach. Yeah, that's the whole purpose of this, right? That's the whole purpose, to hit with the chase down, you know what I'm saying? They steal it, like, oh yeah, old head, them knees ain't, yeah, okay, all right. Watch me, I'm gonna be right behind you. You better be good with the left hand, because otherwise, I'm about to smack that thing into I'm about to smack that thing over there into the cheap seats. Yeah. So, but anyway, this is what that activity does for you, right? Cell by cell basis, right? Cell by cell basis, right? Now, there's a couple of other caveats. This is further downstream. So I want you to know that we're starting with the microscopic and then we're getting smaller and smaller, right? We're getting smaller and smaller. We're getting more and more dialed in, more and more zoomed in, right? This is why what we're discussing right now is why we're making this a part of the culture, the daily culture, to jog, right? Listen, if you've been walking, let me say this. If you've been doing your 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day, you're healthy enough to jog. If you've been doing 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day for 6 months or more, 4 months or more, you healthy enough to get a little bounce to that walk. That's all. Yeah, just get a little bounce to it. And it ain't going to be but another 4 months of slow jogging until you speed that thing up. Yeah, before you know it, you'll be back running again. Yeah, before you know it, you'll be back running again. There's no reason, no matter what condition you're in, that you shouldn't be able to go from not moving to running, not jogging, running. I ain't say running a long time, but you should be able to put together a nice little half a block. Listen, let me tell you what I used to say all the time. And then I stopped saying it after 9/11 because it was such a tragedy. You know what I'm saying? It was such a tragedy. But I used to say all the time, as a father, right? And this when most of my babies was a lot smaller, right? I've been doing this for so long. My babies have grown up in front of the camera, right? But I was saying, as a father, right, you need to be strong enough, right? If you got 2 children, right, or if you're a single mom, right, I mean, really, if you're a mom or a dad, period, because you never know. You could be in a happy marriage with your babies, but you could be the one that's out at a restaurant with your children and something crazy happened. We live in that world. Something crazy happened, and now what you gonna do? You gonna pick up one baby and left the other one? How you gonna live with yourself after that? If you gotta choose between who you gonna pick up and carry and run. Because it was people walking with children. The buildings get hit, stuff start coming down. They gotta run. Some people left their babies. They died. They wishing they had just died that day. Some people just only grabbed one baby. You know, like, I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? You just don't want to be in that situation where you have to do that. You know what I'm saying? You want to be able to grab both of them, or know that, hey, not only have you been exercising, but they've been exercising. So you ain't even got to grab babies. You just holding hands like it's time for us to book it together. Yeah. It's time for us to book it together, right? But a lot of parents, you know, they letting their babies exercise on Xbox. Something happened. Hopefully you can pick his big behind up. Just saying, you didn't let him get fat on Xbox, so hopefully you can carry him. Hopefully if something happened, you can carry him, right? Because otherwise he's just going to be stuck in the middle of looking crazy. Just saying. I was warning folks, and it actually happened, 9/11. So you got to think that way, right? We thinking about insurance, like covering the dead. Like, how about let's just keeping some folks alive? Like, how about we go from insurance to assurance? Like, how about some assurance that we can keep some folks alive, right? I mean, nothing is perfect, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, you want to try to do your best. Right? Okay. Electron leakage. Electron leakage. This is a very real thing. This is a very real thing. I want y'all to understand this. This is a very real thing. And it has a lot to do with everything from senescent cells to anabolic hormones to pigment production, how you smell when you sweat. Like, this has a lot to do with everything, right? How fast your cellular turnover is, you know, which in the grand scheme of things determines how fast you look older. Like your skin, how fast your skin ages and how fast your bones shrivel has a lot to do with electron leakage, right? So how efficient are the pigments? Cytochrome 1, 2, 3, and 4. How efficient are they, right? So one of the things is how much water is being produced at cytochrome 4, right? That's a key piece. That's a key piece to reducing electron leakage. How much water is being produced, right? How well cytochrome 1 and cytochrome 2 absorb sugar and fat electrons, right? How well those handoffs are working. Then you also have something called the mitose. It's like a shoestring. It's like a shoestring. Let me see if I can pull up mitose. Let me see if I can pull this up. If I can't find it, then we ain't even gonna stress it, but okay, I think we cooking. No, we're not. Why are these joints is mad blurry like this? Yo, ResearchGate is trolling. Nah, but we could rock off this. This ain't what I'm looking for. This is just a regular old electron transport chain diagram, but we can at least rock off this. Yeah, I can see my little mouse right there in between, right? All right, so this is a rough diagram of your electron transport chain, right? Cytochrome 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. How far these are apart directly determines how much electrons leak out. That means going from A to B, right? How many don't actually get to where they're supposed to go? And when those electrons leak out, those are free radicals. Those are free radicals. Electron transport chains that have a high amount of free radicals get marked by the body, right? Those cells get marked. The cells that have the mitochondria that's real leaky get marked. And they get marked like California. They get marked out. They get marked for apoptosis. Apoptosis is cellular suicide. So they get marked and tagged basically to get deleted, to get erased, to get killed, to get silenced, to get, right? Because what happens is if those cells are not destroyed, those will become senescent cells or zombie cells, right? Senescent cells or zombie cells. So shout out to the family that brought up foam cells earlier, right? But we've been talking about senescent cells for just almost as long as foam cells, and folks is, still barely catching on to the concept of senescent cells. But that's all with electron leakage, right? So there's a lot of biochemistry that sits atop not just electricity, but malfunction of your electrical circuits, right? And instead of looking at these things as a malfunction of your electrical circuits, we've been all over the place trying to figure out a whole bunch of different stuff that has not been working for anybody but the pharmaceutical companies that are getting richer and richer and richer and richer by keeping people groping in the dark. You know what I'm saying? So electron leakage, jogging, right? Exhausting your cells of ATP. Exhausting your cells of ATP helps tighten these up. Right? And the closer these get to each other, the more efficiently electrons pass from one to another. right? The more closer these get to each other, right? And remember, we had the conversation about electron tunneling. Electron tunneling being entirely dependent upon geometry and spacing, right? All right. So we got electron leakage. Now, believe it or not, bitters. Yo, this is why, listen, y'all talk about how many people be stealing the drip, the image, the likeness. It's because what we do is so efficient. It's because the herbs are so effective. It's because our sea moss blend is unlike anything else in the world. It's because we're the first people to have the Mamatomics. Think about this. I had Mamatomics before all these electrolyte companies even came out with powders to add to your water to electrolytes. We laid foundation for that. Right? We laid foundation for that. When we first came out with Mamatomics, the first thing I was doing was targeting like Gatorade. I was like, yo, we got Gatorade covered. I used to bring it to my children's games. Even now on Chase basketball team, some of the other kids, they're like, yo, what is that? What does that Chase keep drinking? Like, what is that? What is that? Why that water look like that? What's in there? You want some? No. All right. But last year we had the team drinking it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's efficiency, it's effectiveness. You know what I'm saying? The things you can't fake, right? The things you cannot fake. Right? Now, when we shut this down, think about this. When we shut this down, right, and we increase AMPK, right? When we shut this down, this is internal free radicals that your body's producing. Just pure, like, mistake, malfunction. This thing got nothing to do with no chemicals in the air or this just you messing up, right? This is what goes along with VO2 max, right? So on the surface level, we go, okay, VO2 max is primarily, you know, lactic acid metabolism and the forming of CO2. Not just getting CO2 out of the body, but forming CO2, matching your body's speed at which is breaking down glucose and fatty acids to the speed at which your body is inhaling oxygen, right? So you can get that carbon dioxide out of the body, into the blood, then out of the body, right? So matching the carbon production with oxygen intake, right? Then the heart being able to cycle all those poisons out of your body. The heart's got to do that. Cycle all those poisons out of your body. Cardiac melanocytes have to neutralize all those toxins as they're passing through the heart to get to the lungs again. right? You didn't think about that. All those toxic gases that your lungs breathe out, they have to go through the heart. All that toxic gas has to go through the heart. All the toxic sludge we eat has to go through the heart. We'd be dead. We wouldn't make 10 years old if it wasn't for cardiac melanocytes inside our heart doing their job. Think about that. Think about what we do to our heart on Halloween, followed by Thanksgiving. Just in that 3 to 4 week period. What? Especially when you like out in the world and you just doing what you know what I mean? Eat big bags of candy. What? Big bags of candy, and then you get ready to follow that up with Thanksgiving? So anyway, these are the guys behind the scenes that get the VO2 max together, right? Reducing electron leakage and improving adenosine monophosphate sensitivity, right? So there's a lot of conversation everywhere about insulin sensitivity. We go way deeper in that conversation, right? Melanin concentrating hormone sensitivity, right? And we have the knowledge, we have the books, and we have the supplements, right? We was the first ones. We was Ozempic before Ozempic. We was harming before Ozempic. We was harming before Ozempic. Don't get it twisted. Everybody on Ozempic, we was the first group on harming, period, in America. Right? When it was still research phase, we was way ahead of the game, right? So anyway, VO2 max, right? Now, mind you, let me skip down, because right now I'm going through certain portions of the books, right? And I just want to hop around before we get off the live, right? So, man, I done messed this up, right? I want to throw another concept on the table. Met, right? Now, we on watts, we on joules, calories is a must, right? But there's met, right? So what we've been able to do, this was somebody's failed attempt, but there's still textbooks where this term is used, so we need to know it, right? Because there's going to be doctors and health professionals that may throw this term around, and you'll need to know what they're talking about, right? So this is an acronym for the metabolic equivalent of a task. The metabolic equivalent of a task. Met. Right? Met. Right? And so there's a whole little formula. There's a whole little formula where calories are converted into METs based on your height and weight approximation, right? So we don't necessarily need to do that right now, right? In the book, obviously, you know, we're gonna go all the way with it. In the book, you know, we're gonna go all the way with it, right? And maybe even another day when we're not 2 hours in, right? We might go all the way, but for now, right? We got some concepts. We got BMR, right? Or your RMR. We'll just leave it at BMR, right? Basal metabolic rate, right? Then you got your HR, right? Resting heart rate, right? Right? We're going to leave it like that. Metabolic rate, your heart rate, right? Metabolic rate, your heart rate. Then you have your MET, right? Another metric, right? Another metric. But the heart folks and the diabetes folks, like the National Heart Association, the National Diabetes, they like to use these metrics. The more metrics they create, the more confused people are. All right. So, "30 minutes of jogging," right? 30 minutes of jogging gives us the equivalent of 5 MET hours, right? So this means the energy that your body will consume sitting on the couch watching Netflix in 5 hours, right? Your body will consume that same amount of energy in 30 minutes of jogging, right? So if you do this 3 times a week, right? That 90 minutes becomes 15 MET hours, right? And I'm just explaining why we're taking jogging and we're bringing that into our everyday program, along with our squats and our push-ups. Why it's important that we upgrade our walking, right? Because some people are still talking about time efficiency. Well, here's how you can manage your time better. You can manage your time better because the same amount of time it takes you to do X walking, it'll take you a third or maybe half that time jogging to get the same effect. So if you have to spend 2-3 hours walking, you can get that same effect 45 minutes of jogging, 30 minutes of jogging. You can cut 3 hours down. Now you got 2.5 extra hours to hang out with hubby, hang out with wifey, hang with the babies, focus on your job, focus on work, or whatever the case may be, right? Efficiency. Now, we have the studies, right? This is important. For every increase of 10 MET hours, right, you have a decrease in risk of cardiovascular disease from hypertension and diabetes, roughly about 5 to 10%. Right? Now, if you get 90 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours, plus you're doing your push-ups, you're doing this, you're doing that, right? You already know with the push-ups alone is 96%. I mean, it's the push-ups alone by itself is the highest. There's no pill on earth formulated to duplicate what push-ups can do for your heart. There's no pill that can give you a 96% risk reduction of, not even close. The best pills on earth offer like a 5%, like they're making billions of dollars offering people 5%. This, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not even close, right? So what we're doing is we're trying to take the 96% over 100%, right? Like, how do you do that? Go back to the Ma'at book, right? I mean, nothing's guaranteed, so there's no guarantees, no certainty, right? But go back to the Ma'at book. Understand that health is a matter of probability. Probability is a matter of potential. It's a matter of controlling variables. The more variables you can control, the more input you have on your outcome, trigonometry. The more input you have on your output. The more input you control, the more control you have on the output. The more input, the more control you have on the variables in your health, the more you have a control on traumatic events. The more you have great sex, great relationships with your children, the things that make life worth living, right? The things that make life worth living. I know we get deep into the science sometime, but it's these understandings that we build on to add 10 years, 20 years of your life. Our mastery of these scientific concepts is the reason why people from Black YouTube, right? From Black YouTube all the way up to neurosurgeons and college professors and PhD, whatever, they all come to this platform to steal concepts. There's a reason. There's a reason. People launch whole careers off of stealing from this platform. There's a reason. The well never runs dry here. That's the one thing nobody can understand. Like, how does he keep this information flowing at this level? And I keep saying the same thing. It don't come from me, it comes through me. It's been like that since I was a kid. So that's the one thing I'm not worried about. I know the information is going to keep coming. Right? It's just a matter of inspiring people to act on it, inspiring people to build the culture, inspiring you at home right now to sit down and have this Christ or Christ conversation with your mom, with your auntie. Be like, hey, come on, man. You've been in church with Jesus. You've been yelling out Christ for 30 years. Let's take this conversation to another level. Yeah, you've been talking about Kemet and Osiris, and let's take that conversation to another level. You got the power now to sit down with anybody and have this conversation and bring them into the culture. That's what we were doing. In case you didn't know, once we dropped the rough ashlar, I don't even really mention the rough ashlar. Like when I mention that book, I mention that book by itself. When I mention trigonometry and the Legend of Wuxia, I mention them together. Because even though them 3 books is together, they hit different. You know what I'm saying? Like, but once we dropped the rough ashlar book, that was okay. Now we're culture building. We're bringing back the culture. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing to be talking that Kemet talk, or you misinformed, you running around talking about chakras and this foolishness. It's another thing to be bringing the culture back, the real culture back, the culture, like not watered down, not. So you have to go and minister. You have to teach. That's why you have to have the little tiny, but I ain't got mine. I ain't get mine yet. They coming, you know. I'll have mine in a minute. That's why I got 2 of these. Yeah, I got 2 of these. I'm gonna give them both away eventually. Yeah, I'm gonna get them both away. But I'm waiting to get my covenant book so I can really have the teacher's edition and then have the small ones. Like just having the teacher's edition and the small one is crazy by itself. Promise you. Conversation already. Like when you hit somebody with the small one and then you pull out the teacher's edition and you be like, no, this is the teacher's edition to that. And they look at that, flip open a few pages and see them concepts in there, they're going to close that back up. Like, ooh, this is crazy. And what, if this has this in it, what is in that book? No, I want to read that. You got to slow them down. Like, oh, you ain't ready to read this. You start with that. Like, you read that and let's have some combos about that. Yeah, you read that. Have some combos about that. We'll build. Right? Okay. All right. But this is how we're going to do things when we have certain holidays, because we will have holidays for things that are important to us. Right? So July 13th, that's going to be dedicated to inspiration, respiration, breathing, oxygen, right? So we'll be obviously every year, that day will be dedicated to that. You know what I'm saying? So we'll be talking about things like AMPK and then this guy. Right? We haven't even brought this guy back into the conversation, right? This is also an enzyme. This is the nitric oxide, right? This is the nitric oxide enzyme, right? Both of these are key metrics that are upregulated during endurance training. So the same way we went down the whole rabbit hole with AMPK, we could do the same thing with eNOS, right? We can do the same thing with eNOS and nitric oxide production and blood flow and, you know, anti-clotting, improve circulation, improve sex without Viagra, right? This is a secret part of the Viagra. Activating this to stimulate this to get that blood flow, right? So, yeah. Exactly.
To the Most High God for the divine spark that set our EnQi prayer number 2. We give thanks and praise to the Most High God for the divine spark that set our cells into perpetual motion. We give thanks for the magnetism of the Most Holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry bolts of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and caves. We give thanks for the ability to drink clean water every 60 minutes, flooding the river of life. We give thanks that sugar has not covered our ferries and turned them into stone. We give thanks that darkness has not covered the riverbanks with calcium and turned them into stone.
It's been an amazing.
The ferry boat. EnQi prayer number 2. We give thanks and praise to the Most High God for the divine spark that set our cells into perpetual motion. We give thanks for the magnetism of the Most Holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and caves. We give thanks for the ability to drink clean water every 60 minutes, flooding the river of life. We give thanks that sugar has not covered our ferries and turned them into stone. We give thanks that darkness has not covered the riverbanks with calcium and turned them into stone. We give thanks that anger and fear have not turned our almonds bitter, turning our heart to stone. We give thanks for smooth sailing upstream through the valley of death, through the superior vena cava into the right atrium. We give thanks for smooth sailing around the heart through the corona crown, joining the vortex in the right atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave, reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway to the vineyard. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate to the vineyard closes. We give thanks to the Most High God that provides the light and our breath, and the light in our breath. We give thanks for the fine olfactory system that makes our grapes ripe with light. We give thanks for the Jed pillar that provides us with a stable fleet of ferry boats to dock in our vineyard. We give thanks for smooth sailing through the pulmonary vein into the storm of the left atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave, reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway into the holy royal arch of the Wa scepter. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate into the holy royal arch of the Wa scepter closes. We give thanks for the magnetism of the most holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and our. This is why you have to go to Amazon and get the book, Rich Abs, Poor Abs, now.